Hello, welcome to freaking leadership. So I wanted to just do a really quick video that talks about all of the different kinds of conversations that you're about to be having with your team. Because if you don't know, we work with a lot of men and women. And with that comes what? Conversations, different personalities, different ways of training and coaching and developing people, right? So versus, waiting until this happens and then for you having to learn, my goal is to kind of help you prepare for these, because a really big part of leadership is having a difficult conversation. A really big part of leadership is holding your people accountable, which quite often for most of us is uncomfortable. And I just want you to understand that at the end of the day, you allow what you keep in your business. You allow what your standards are. And for me as a coach, I have high standards for myself and the women that I work with and the men that I work with. But I also understand that not everybody is coached and developed and trained the same way. But it doesn't make it okay for me not to hold somebody accountable, right? Whether someone has a type A personality or a type C personality, whether someone and I are really close or not close enough. Now, obviously there's the 5 levels of leadership, which we'll learn about here in a little bit, but you always want to know this. When someone partners up with you, they did it because they trust you and they believe in your ability to guide them. The only way that we can guide them is by having the correct kind of conversations that are going to happen within different parts of their business. And guys, some of these conversations you're going to have multiple times over. But at the end of the day, the more that you have them, the better it gets. So let's dive into these. So I'm going to go over really the biggest thing, the 3 types of convos that you're going to have the most often in this business. And this applies to anything, relationships. It's going to apply to coworkers. It's going to apply to friends, but particularly in this business. So the first kind of convo you're going to have is a checkup conversation. So when do you have these conversations? Let's say you have one of your girls who has recently just became distant. She stopped responding in group chat. She doesn't really text you back anymore. She just stopped booking one-on-one calls, which does happen. People go through seasons in business. Sometimes someone's just going through something and they don't want to let you down. So they just stop responding to you, which teaches you as a coach that there has to be a better barrier of communication, right? No one should ever feel scared to tell you that they need a break or whatnot. But when do you have this check-in conversation? The goal of this convo is for you to build a better relationship. You're not going into this conversation to find flaws. You're not. You're going into this conversation so you can better understand what's actually happening in their head. I want to know what's going on, what happened. Like, did something happen in your personal life? Did something happen at your day job? Did I do something? Maybe someone in chat said something. Maybe something's happening in the world. Your goal of this conversation is to not nitpick, it's to not break, which realistically, you can give someone guidance and coaching without breaking them. You can hold somebody accountable without being mean. You don't have to be both. But the goal here is that you relate with them and then connect them with someone who either can change, like can relate with what they're going to. So for example, like I'm not a mom. I work with a lot of moms, like a lot. And so like when they're going through stuff with their kids, I can't relate, but what I can do is partner up with another mom. And you want to make sure you're partnering up runners with runners, right? I don't want to partner up someone who's like half in, half out with a runner. It's not her job to maintain and build her. You're trying to motivate them. You're trying to find a way for them to work together, right? So my goal here is to relate to whatever it is they're going through. And then I just build their mentality. A checkup conversation, your goal is when the conversation's done, that person walks away feeling good, feeling refreshed, feeling like you gave them clarity, right? It's after we hop off of a call sometimes with Jacqueline or with Sam or with AJ or, with any of our directors, we feel like a sense of like they get it. Like we're on the right track. That's the goal with the checkup conversation. And these are so incredibly important to have on the regular. I'm constantly checking in. I talk to my girls probably more than most people do because it's just the kind of relationships that I built with them. But the ones that I don't, once a week, you're hearing from me and I want to make sure that you're good. So that's number 1. The second kind of conversation, and this is a really great one for people to listen to you, which is important because you can't just coach people, right? Because if you're just coaching with no intention of them listening, then you're wasting your time. So a build, break, build conversation. Okay, so when to have these. A build, break, build, I normally have these when there's a lot of inconsistency. Okay, so like when someone tells me their goal is to get to MMB and they want to send me 10 conversations a day. And then I check in on the conversations and then nothing happens and then nothing happens and then nothing happens. And then they go, I'm going to do this and then nothing happens, right? So when there's constant inconsistency. And the goal here is just to get on the same page and refresh the game plan. Sometimes people just have to be reminded of their goals. They do. Maybe Not everyone does. You know, I can't relate. I'm never going to need someone to say, Veronica, remember when you were motivated? Because I have big dreams. I have big goals. But not everyone that starts their business wants to be a millionaire. Not everyone that starts this business wants to retire their family. Some people really just want to make a few $100, and that's okay. But it's important that you consistently go back to the roots. What's your why? Why are you here? Why are we starting? So as an example, you know, hey, I love how active you've been on social media lately, but I've noticed that you actually haven't posted much of anything for the business. Like I haven't seen any business related content. I just want to remind you that if you don't actually stay consistent, you're not going to see any results in your business. I'm building them. I'm starting with a positive. I love how active you've been on social media, but I haven't seen anything about the business. And then I'm bringing it back to their why. You know, if your goal is to create something, you got to be consistent with it. And you always want to ask them, like, why? What changed? What caused the shift? You know, when I have a girl who's like, yeah, I just kind of, you know, with everything that's going on, I felt like it might have been an appropriate time to talk about my business. Okay, there's value to that. Let me change that mentality. Let me figure out why that's the case. Maybe you're getting heat from friends and family. It's all about shedding light. You know, our goal isn't to be not addressing the issues that are happening in the world, but our goal is to also be providing light through our services, through our opportunity, through our mentorship. That's how I view my social media. Is I want to be a place where people go to for a breath of fresh air. So the point of a build, break, build conversation is to refresh your plan. Always want to make sure that you're building and building, and you want a small break. We're not looking to like get someone in their head. It's just a way to get them back on track. Okay, now the third type of conversation, and this one is really important, and this is the one that most people are going to avoid like 99% of the time. It's a critical convo, a critical conversation. You guys, as much as I love every single person on my team, I'm not here to be their friends. Yes, do I want to make a lot of money together? For sure. Yes, do I want to build an empire together? For sure. But if it's between me holding you accountable and you being at my birthday, I'm going to hold you accountable because that's going to make you money, and you making money, you're going to thank me for that down the line. These critical conversations are so incredibly necessary for work. For growth. They're so incredibly necessary for growth. You know, this is for the person on your team who's always, you know, saying, why me? I'm never winning. I'm never growing. I tried really hard, but I failed. The person who's constantly negging out to you, always coming at you with a negative. You are not Dr. Phil. It's not your job to take someone's negativity and hold it on your shoulders. No, absolutely not. Your time is valuable. This is for the person who books calls but then never shows up for them. For the person you never see on live training calls but tells you they have big goals. If you're not getting along with your sponsor, your upline, your mentor, have that conversation. Hey, here's how you're coaching me, but here's how I like to be coached. At the end of the day, we can only give you what we know. And unless you communicate something different with us, we're going to do the coaching style that we're most comfortable with, right? So it's so important to be having these on a regular basis. And these critical conversations, if you do this right, the person you have with shouldn't feel fear of loss. They shouldn't feel like they might, you know, lose your mentorship, but they should understand, hey, moving forward, you can't be taking advantage of my time. You can't be taking advantage of my coaching. I'm going to bend over backwards for you, but I can't want this more than you want this. And sometimes it comes down to telling someone, hey, maybe this isn't the right time for you. You know, I give my new girls 3-4 weeks of matching my energy. And if there's 4 weeks in a row where I don't hear from you, or you only text me when you need something, I'm going to be there to help you, but I'm not pouring into you. You're not matching me. Why would I continue pouring into you? So these are the kind of conversations you're going to be having consistently, and they're going to get better and better with practice. They're going to get better and better with time. But my biggest piece of advice for you, if you're in the process of building your team, understand people are going to fall off. You're going to say things and mean one thing, it's going to be taken another, and there's going to be tension, and you're going to have to clarify that at some point. Text messages can get misconstrued. Use voice memos. Work on your voice inflections. Work on how you're talking to people so they can feel your energy. And most importantly, guys, if I can give you one piece of advice, being a good leader starts from here. It's not about what you say you're going to do. It's not about what you're doing on Instagram. It's what you're actually doing for your people. Are you genuinely checking in? Do you really know what's happening in their lives? Are you really having those critical conversations and holding them accountable to their goals, even though during that convo it might be a little bit uncomfortable? Are you being the example on a consistent basis? Are you setting the pace? Are you showing up? Because as much as you might want to build this massive organization of bomb badass women, It happens from making decisions like we just talked about and having the conversations that we just talked about, which is going to help someone shift into the next level of their business. So congratulations to leadership. Welcome. I cannot wait to see what you're going to build in this business. And I hope some of these tips and tricks helped you out.